Today, let's take a quick look at the new Studio for WordPress. Now, before we go any further, this is only available currently for Mac, but you can request early access to the Windows version and get access to that when it's released. Secondly, this is free. There isn't something you have to pay for, and it's a local development environment that allows you to easily and quickly spin up a copy of WordPress on your local machine. And then if you want to, you can push it over to a WordPress.com account, again, for free, and you can have a test site on there and you can push things back and forth. So let me show you how easy it is to get everything up and running. Then I'm going to give you some of my thoughts a little later. And as always, I welcome your feedback. So what do you think of this? Is it going to kind of compete with things like local, things like that? Let me know in the comment section down below. Okay, so first of all, this is the website. If you've got a Mac, you can simply click the option to download either the Apple Silicon, or if you're on an Intel chip, you can do that. Alternatively, request early access for Windows. Now, I've already downloaded and installed it, and this is the first thing you're going to see when you get up and running. First thing you ask you to do is add your first site. So let's give this a name. Secondly, you choose where you want to save it. We'll click on continue. And after a few moments, then your site is installed. And as you can see, we've got a bunch of different options. Let's take a quick look over this, and then we'll see some of the things you can do with it. So first of all, you can see we can go straight to the WP admin by clicking the link. It'll open up a new tab or new browser window and take you straight into your dashboard. Again, remember, this is all on a local server. So this is all done on your own actual machine, not going to the internet for anything. So everything, as you'd expect, is set up inside here. If you come back out, you want to open your site, you can do the same thing here as well. But what we can also do is jump through to some of the key sections to customize the site you've just created. So you want to jump into the site editor, your styles and so on, you can do that here. And we'll come back to those in a moment. You can, if you want to, open up Finder to find exactly where this particular local install is on your computer. As you can see, there's our local WordPress websites, there's our test folder, and all our files inside it. Okay. So that's all pretty self-explanatory and logical. If we come over to the share option, which we'll take a look at in a little bit more detail, if you've got a free WordPress.com account, you can have up to 5 demo sites live on your WordPress.com account, which you can then share with clients. You can use it to test things out yourself. They only last for 7 days, so please do bear that in mind after the last update. So if you don't make changes to it, after 7 days, it will be deleted from that account. And then finally, we've got the settings section, and this will show you all the basic information about the site that you set up, the site name, the domain for it, and so on, and any password and usernames if you want to access it. Now, first thing that I don't like about this is you can see the username is set to admin by default. We all know that's a silly thing to do, and it would make much more sense if this is going to be something that you create on a local machine and potentially push it to a live site, that is not the case. Straight out of the box, we're using something completely different at this point. Now, it's worth also noting that you can't change this inside here unless I'm missing something, which I can't see anything in here to change this information. The only thing you can change is the site name. Everything else is kind of locked down. So it's kind of annoying to see that that's even a thing these days, is that admin is even still used. Surely it would make much more sense, like they do with the password, to just randomize that for the login details. But that's just a little gripe from my point of view. You can then also stop and start any or all of the projects you currently have running. You can do this by simply coming over the name of the project, clicking on this little option to stop it, and you'll see that's now stopped. So we're no longer working on that. It's no longer running on our local site. If you want to add it, start it back up again, you just click and you'll see that starts up, or you can use the option next to the actual name of the project itself. If you want to have more sites, you can simply click on Add Site, and that will then take you back into the same thing. At which point now you can start to add in any credentials that you need. We'll just cancel out of that. And you can see we can also log into our WordPress.com account. So everything looks pretty self-explanatory here. There's nothing particularly rocket science about it. Now, let's just say we've got a site and we do want to share that with someone. If we click on the share option, it'll ask us to log in. We can create an account if we don't already have one. So we can click login. That'll take us over. We can then log into our account. You'll then be asked to approve that you want to connect this to your account. If you've already done this, you won't see this again. So we'll say we'll approve it. And now we've authorized that. So we can now push things over to our WordPress.com free account. So all I need to do is just add a demo site. So we'll click, let's go and create the demo site now on the WordPress.com server. And after a few moments, once everything is set up, we can then access the actual site on there. And like I say, if you want to share this with a client, you want to just have things set up to see exactly what's going to run like, these will be deleted after 7 days of inactivity. So just bear that in mind. After a few moments, depending upon the complexity of the site, you can see we now have a temporary domain that's available. So we click on this. There's an exact copy of our site. And as you can see, it tells us we're previewing this, a studio demo site powered by WordPress.com. And as you can see, our site is all set up. So that's pretty cool. That is quite a useful feature, especially if you are a .com user. But even if you are just using the free account like we are here, this can be really useful if you want to have a site set up, you want to get client feedback, and you don't want to have to mess about with your own hosting and things along those lines. So that's quite useful. But what else does this bring to the table? Well, let's just say we make some changes to that site. So let's go back to our site. Let's go and choose one of the styles. You can see this is where it'll take us directly into that feature. We'll let the styles load in, and let's just change this to the dark mode design. We'll hit save. Then head back over to the Studio app. And what we're going to do now is going to come back into the share option and we'll say update the demo site. You choose that option, say, are you sure it's going to update and overwrite everything? So bear in mind, this doesn't just push the changes, this updates everything, the entire site, all files, and the database itself. So we'll click update. Again, we'll give that time to go over and make those changes. And once that's done, we should then see the updated version of our site reflected ready for us. And there's the dark version. So you can see it's changed it over. So we do have a sort of staging site set up here, which again is quite useful. It would be nice to be able to just push over the changes as opposed to everything. But you know, at the end of the day, this is a completely free service. So that basically is what it does. We can use the options to come in and make changes and jump directly into any of these different sections. So pages, patterns, and so on. It's all pretty simple and self-explanatory. And then once you're finished, you can easily come into the share option, delete your demo site, say, yep, delete it. If you finish working on the site itself, you can see, come over here, you can stop this, and then you can go and delete it. So we can click on stop. Once that's been stopped, we can then click on the site itself, come into settings, choose the option to delete the site, confirm that we're happy to delete it from our computer, and click on delete site. So everything is then gone, and we're now back to that starting page one more time. What do I think of the Studio by WordPress app? I think if you want a streamlined, simple way of being able to create sites locally, push them over for testing purposes over to something like the .com server, it is quite useful. There are limitations. For example, I don't like the fact that admin is set as the default username still. Surely in 2024, with all the security issues that we have to deal with, it would make so much more sense that WordPress by default just created a randomized username and the password, not just the password. Secondly, it would be so much nicer if we could easily set this up and connect it to our own server, and then we could push it from this application over to our own server. Sure, it's a little bit more complex and not everybody may want to use it, but I think if you were going to use this as a serious tool, it is going to make so much more sense than having to deal with installing something on your local computer to then push that over and migrate your site over. Much nicer to do it all inside the app itself. Thirdly, what I would also like to see is this directly integrated into the WordPress repository. What I mean by that is that when you create a site like we've seen, you can easily pick and choose from any of the themes and plugins and so on that are part of the repository without the need of having to spin up the site, then open the site, then go through and actually create everything inside there. And then even then, there's no real easy way of being able to organize and manage those kinds of things. So I would like to see that even giving us the ability to easily create templates that have the plugins and the themes and everything we want all set up, ready to go. And we can then push that over to our live site when we're ready after we finish designing things here. Kind of like what you can do with InstaWP. But apart from that, it's a good starting point. Hopefully this isn't something that's typical WordPress fashion, which can end up taking the next 5 years to give us the features we actually need. Hopefully this will be a quicker turnaround. But it is an interesting start. But as always, what are your thoughts on this? Now, if you want to find an alternative like InstaWP, you can check out this video next, where I take you through how to use it.